Welcome to the 90-day HeartMate consciousness experiment.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, good to see you guys all. Alrighty here. So we added a passcode this week. So just want to make sure there is, I think, potential for someone that was not approved to be part of a group that I think tried to come in one of our sessions. So I decided to add a passcode for this week. I hope everybody got the passcode. We'll find out. I know that we have a couple people who had to excuse themselves. Haiti excused herself because of work. And Rob also, he's driving across the country. And so he wasn't able to make it at a destination point so that he could pull over and participate. So, but without further ado, I think we're going to get started here in the next few minutes. We're going to give, let's see, it's just it's 6 minutes past the hour. So let's start off by doing the PSMO method. As you know, that takes 3 minutes. And then we'll jump into the rest of the plan. The PSMO method, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, we introduced that in the very first session, and we've talked a little bit about it in other sessions. But PSMO stands for physiological size maniocular technique. It's a method that I use, that I guide my private clients with, that I have used to help treat everything from PTSD, anxiety, nervousness, any kind of negative thoughts. And it's also a real good natural energy booster. I've had people who've had extreme jet lag. They've been in medical clinical certification courses that they've had to take, and all of a sudden, with the time change, and they normally are up like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and with a 3-hour time change, now to have to still be awake and alert at 4, 5, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, it's extremely challenging because usually their day has been long gone and over, and they just are, you may be depleted of energy just because you've run out of juice. You may be coming down with something, but it doesn't matter. The PSMO method is 3 modalities. It's actually a little more than 3 modalities, but I'm gonna to make it simple for everyone. It's basically 3 segments, and there's multiple modalities integrated in each one of the 3. And the physiological sigh portion, which is the first part, you simply go We're going to do 3 sets of 3 of that. That's a neurosomatic brain hack. It's basically sedating. It's the body's way of sedating your hippocampus, which is your fight or flight response at the base of the brain. And it's something that all mammals, all animals do that. Human beings as well as children. In the 90-day HeartMate consciousness experiment playlist that's on my YouTube channel, if you want to look at the PSMO method, it's saved there along with the explanation so that you understand what's happening, throughout your body and how your brain is crossing over the energies. So the second portion of the PSMO method is the maniocular technique, which is based on EMDR. Some of you guys are familiar with the eye movement desensitization technique, which a Stanford researcher, Elizabeth, I'm forgetting her name around, but Dr. Andrew Huberman works closely with her. He's a neuroscientist, and he specializes in the brain and eye function. And basically what this technique does is it dissolves, and because your brain stores memories on the left side of the brain, and then of course you have the energy memory is stored in your body, as you move through space and time with the maniocular portion of this PSMO method, you are dissolving any kind of negative emotion or feeling that you might be feeling for whatever reason. So this is all helping by integrating these 3 modalities. You're increasing your energy, because the thing that's draining you of energy is being dissolved in less than 3 minutes. And then the third portion of this is I learned this from a combination of Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson, which if you spread out your hands as far as you can in a web, just as much as you can, that increases your willpower. So we're going to do standing, doing the victory pose, but the first 30 seconds, we hold our hands as wide as possible. This increases your willpower. Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson, she's written many, many books. She's a UC Berkeley physicist. She has multiple PhDs, one of them being in divinity, physics, etc. Doing the victory pose increases your testosterone by over 80%, which also increases your willpower. It increases your drive. And then we do it in combination with the Taoist Tai Chi lymphatic flush, which Donna Eden talks a lot about lymphatic flushes, which helps circulate not just your energy, but lymph nodes clear so that it doesn't stay stagnant in any of the joint parts of your body. So we're going to go ahead and stand up, and we're going to take 3 minutes to do that. Now that I've kind of given you an overview, for the detailed information, you can watch again in the 90-day Heartmate playlist in Love and Money Secrets TV. You'll see the PSMO method. It's under Body and Mind Transform PSMO method. Okay, so let's stand up. And what we're going to do, I hope you guys can hear me because my mic is over here, but it's pretty simple. I'm going to start off with the physiological size. So 3 sets of 3. And what you're going to do is go 2 quick physiological inhales followed by 1 exhale. So and I want you all to stand up. So this is something that we do standing, okay? Second set, 2 inhales followed by an exhale. Do our third. Next, we're going to open our hands wide, hold them up in the air, and you're going to do a lymphatic flush, which you're basically bouncing on the balls of your feet as your hands are open. You're going to count to 120, and the first 30 counts. Your hands are open, and then once you get to 31, you close them into fists. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're going to continue another 120. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 7, 58, 60, 61, 62, 63, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, that's the PSMO method. Now, most of you will feel energized And you'll notice I do use this as a morning routine because when I first started using this, I started guiding my clients with it. And I thought, gee whiz, this might be a good way to start my morning. And I found that all of a sudden, I was already happy, but I was even happier. And I thought, wow, it's probably because you're clearing all of those emotions as soon as you wake up. First of all, you do the physiological sighs. You're already, going from a sleeping state, so you're already calm. So, you're starting off calm and you're consciously taking those breaths, which are helping you wake up. And then as you do the eye exercise, it makes me wake up faster because it feels really good to get circulation going to your eyes. I started to realize that if my eyes felt heavy and kind of on the drier side or whatever, it felt really good to move my eyes and bring circulation. And again, I noticed that I was just more joyous. And then of course you're doing the lymphatic flush, which at first the lymphatic flush along with the hands and so forth. And you're doing the twisting and you're clearing out your lymph system, getting your circulation going and increasing your willpower as well as your testosterone and your drive. So I found that it's like, wow, it's like a great way to start my morning. And so anyhow, the PSMO method, it just takes 3 minutes as you saw. And you can, sometimes I'll put like a 2 or a 3 minute song so that I know, so I don't actually have to count out loud. And then, that always revives you just because that's especially fun music will always do that. Okay. So
Lillian, I have a question. Are we going to do the EMDR piece of it?
Oh, maybe. I guess I missed that part. Yeah,
we didn't do that.
So after the physiological size, oh my bad. Thank you. Oops, see, perfection is not required. We can all do this. Okay, so after the physiological size where you do 2 inhales, 3 sets of that. The next part is probably one of the most important parts of this. I'm surprised I jumped to the lymphatic flush. It's you hold up your hand and you're going to keep your head stationary. And as you look, I always look at the middle knuckle and hold it right in front of my nose. And all you're going to do is you're going to wave left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And your eyes are following as far left as you can and far right, left, right. The rhythm with which you do this isn't as important as keeping your head stationary and following with your eyes because it's an ocular exercise. It's mani-ocular. It's requiring you to sync your eyes with your hand and you're crossing over from the right hemisphere of your brain to the left, which is helping resync your neurology. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's one set. Second set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. Third set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. So that's 3 sets of 10. And then the last piece, which we already did, which is doing the 2 sets of 120, first 30 seconds with your hands wide apart. If you just do that during the day where for no apparent reason, you just stretch out your hands as wide as you can, that's increasing your willpower, okay? So this helps also relieve and release you from brain fog. If you have a bad thought, memory, or emotion for any reason whatsoever, bad news, this will instantly dissolve it, this PSMO method. Okay, so that's step 1 for today. Before we jump into the other things, I want to acknowledge all of you guys today. Thank you for being here. And I want to say hi to Terry, to Maria, and to David. How are you guys all doing? Great, great.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Great, great, great. Nice to have you join us too, Maria. And so I wanted to find out from you guys, why don't we get our sign symbol synchronicity report for this week? Let me see, I gotta make sure I got my cards here. So why don't we start off with Terry? Can you share with us your report this week for your sign symbols, synchronicities, dreams?
Well, I keep seeing triple and quadruples of the same number, like 1111 or 222. And I keep getting more hits from mail requests on Facebook, which just makes me giggle.
It's fun.
It is. Now they have no profile, so I don't, they have to actually be a real person and they're not showing me that they are. So I just say thank you and pass on.
Yeah, you don't have to accept, every person that solicits you on, Facebook or any social media for that matter. But it's interesting how as we do these processes, how all of a sudden, there's a surge in these requests that weren't there before, or that were a lot less before. So there is something to it. So that's fun. So more basically there's more solicitations for you.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess I can't say always, I came to an awareness at one time in my life to treat myself, because person in my life wasn't doing it. So I thought, I'm going to take care of myself. So I continue that practice even as I'm single. And the last couple of weeks, I've been buying flowers and giving them to friends. And I'm getting more joy out of it by giving them away than if I kept the flowers myself. I'm like, this is pretty cool. It blesses me to buy them and blesses me to give them. So.
That is so wonderful. Yeah, because flowers have a very high vibrational energy to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a wonderful gesture. So, it's I had one of my mentors, Brian Buffini, would always say, you give it out in slices and it'll come back to you in loaves.
Oh, I like that saying.
Yeah, I really like that.
Oh.
Too.
You can edit this out if you want. You just reminded me of something someone told me this week, because I am shifting a lot. And you've heard the saying, when one door closes, another door opens.
Yes.
Well, they added a little caveat to that.
They did? Oh, I wasn't aware.
They did. They said, but it's hell in the hallway. Laughing because I understood what they meant, because when you're in between worlds, kind of like, and it hasn't fully morphed to the next. And I'm not specifically talking about a heart mate. I mean, just in general.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of uncomfortable in that in-between spot.
That's the unknown, because we're so uncomfortable with the unknown, and wanting to, our ego doesn't like the unknown. It would rather hold you back to the familiar past and keep you. It's like, well, let's go back to the closed door instead, So it wants to keep you in the same spot so it can predict, So
my doors have to do around friendships. I'm just starting to pay attention to, I seem to be the one that initiates all the time. And I'm like, this is, I prefer people that would be reciprocal.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of why some doors are shutting, because I just thought, I'm just going to take a couple steps back, see what happens. If they show up, great. If they don't, I'm okay with that too, because then that means there's a void that the universe can fill with some new people and new friends.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. Those are incredible points of awareness that you're having. So that is really awesome. I'm excited for you.
And then another great thing that happened this week is I met someone on Island that also was a Dr. Joe follower for the first time. And we were visiting in our living room. And then after a bit, her husband came in and said, would you like to stay for dinner? See, I got asked to dinner by a man.
That is wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's an executive chef, a retired executive chef. So I said, he's like, I'm just going to throw something together. It's not going to be anything special. And I thought, oh, if you're cooking, it's going to be something special. And it was. So
wow.
That was a lot of fun.
That's a nice co-creation. Oh my gosh. Wow. So things just continue on, getting better and better. So
Mhm.
very fun. Very, very fun. All right. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Um, well, not specifically to this forum. Other things have been going on in the background, but yeah. And I do notice your red top and your heart necklace. I appreciate that you thought about what you're wearing. Today's been really super full for me and busier than normal, so I just feel grateful that I'm even here.
Yeah, I think that was something that's going on with a lot of people because like today was like super busy, like many appointments type of busy and a lot of people coming in and out. And yeah, so it was a very busier, very productive day, but it took a little bit more coordinating and juggling and, to get everything done on time so I could be here on time as well. So yeah.
Oh, I forgot one. Oh my gosh, how could I have forgot this? So the property I live on is 10 acres
Mhm.
and it's very beautiful. And one of the ladies who lives here, her son got married on the property on Saturday night. And so I have huge, huge, huge windows in my studio. So I got to just look out the window and watch the wedding happening
Oh, so the wedding just took place.
Saturday night. Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh, I mean, wow.
Yeah, I'm getting closer to love.
You are getting closer to love and two people coupling together. That is so wonderful. Oh,
And then they were supposed to take down the reception tent Sunday. It's Monday night and it's still there, for whatever reasons. So
but the celebration continues.
I went, I went under the tent. No one else is home right now. It just happens to be me alone. And I went and danced in the tent and pretended like it was my reception.
So, I think this is something I'm going to encourage not just you, but all of you who are watching this to do. If you can think of little things to do for yourself, like you're taking advantage of the fact that there was a wedding reception on your grounds. So, yeah, go in there and make believe it's like, yeah, this is my wedding reception. Something that I did this week, I just mailed it yesterday. I put together a document and a letter and I mailed it to myself. I went to the post office yesterday and mailed it because it's part of what I want to see in real 3D, not just from my sending it to myself, but for the real thing to come to me in 3D. So I just dropped that in the mail yesterday. So I know that later this week I'm going to get it, but I'm playing. So, those things that we can do that will help our selves to create and to make it feel more real for ourselves, like you're doing, it,
Mhm.
that's part of the co-creation that we're molding the clay because our brain doesn't really know. So when you get, like in your case, you're inside that tent and it's the reception hall and so forth, your brain doesn't know that it's not yours because you're like they're going, oh my gosh, this was such a beautiful wedding, we had such a great time. And you're just, it's what kids do all the time. It's make believe, it's pretending, it's daydreaming.
Mhm.
But we now know there's a lot of evidence, as you guys are aware of, some, if not many, of the different, documentaries, everything from What the Bleep to the Superhuman Consciousness film, as well as there's another one that Caroline Corey did called Among Us, which is, I think, it's either on Netflix or Amazon Prime. There's so many others. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, she talks a lot about how you can use daydreaming to create. And there are physicists who have written many, many books. I've mentioned to you guys before the works of Dr. Robert B. Stone, who was a MIT. He went to MIT and he was an engineer. And he had physicists from the United States and Russia who did all these consciousness experiments, and they actually tested also daydreaming, and they tested also the energy that comes through your eyes and through your hands through there's like some sort of Russian device which Dr. Joe also knows about. It's called I should have written down. It's like some psychometry that can actually it measures the actual number of protons photons of light energy units that come through your hands and through your eyes. And they've tested it with like religious healers, as well as non-religious healers that are in different, different modalities, let's say. And so there's plenty of conclusive evidence now, so which is really exciting to know and to experience. So that's part of what we're doing in this consciousness experiment.
That is way cool. I would love to be tested on that machine.
Me too. I think it would be so much fun to see, the before and afters, and, I think that would be, yeah. And as Dr. Joe students, anytime we go to a 7-day advance event or an AFU, there are people that are randomly selected out of the 1,000 or 1,300, 1,400 people that are there. They randomly select 30 to 45 people. So if you want to be, I would say, just put it in your meditation and know that it'll happen, because, yeah, they do. It's like, and they had at the April Quantum Mind advance, they had the scientists from the University of San Diego Medical School that were actually there. I got to actually meet 3 of them. And so, yeah, it's just fascinating, everything that they're measuring, like with such surgical precision. It's exciting. Is there anything else, Terry? This is quite a bit.
No, I think that's it.
That's quite a bit. All right. Well, thanks for all this exciting stuff. It's very motivating and inspiring for us, from, you in Hawaii to me here in California and everybody else in all the different other countries and states. So, okay, I'm going to go to David next, and then we'll go to Maria. So David, tell us, what's your update, your report for this week?
Well, the report is, let's see. I went to a meetup group on Saturday. We went hiking, and we went to it's a state park about 50 miles from here in Decatur, which is very nice, and hadn't been there. And there's like 45 people at the meetup. And I hadn't been to many of the hiking meetups this year, and we didn't have any for the last year because of COVID and what have you. So anyway, I ran into this lady who I used to know from years ago. I used to build homes, and this lady, she sold the electric lights. And then she ended up marrying the electrician that I used back at that time. And anyway, and I really liked her, and she's divorced. She got pretty heavy. I didn't recognize her, but it was like really just very uplifting to run into her. And as far as the synchronicity, after the meetup, we went to a place to eat, and there was a group of us talking. Anyway, this one lady who I had met before, she asked me if I did anything spiritually, and I told her, yeah, I do some meditation every morning. And she had told me she does the Ho'oponopono, and if I was familiar with that. I said, yeah, I am quite familiar with it. And so anyway, I thought that was neat. And I also play pickleball, and so the choice Saturday was play pickleball or go to this meetup hike. And so since I play pickleball a lot more often, the hikes don't come that often, I went on the hike. And this fella wants to play, and I mentioned that. And so he gave me his phone number, and his phone number was the same, his last 4 digits is the same as my address, which was 5885. And I thought, man, that is really crazy. So anyway, as far as the synchronicity, you just wonder sometimes. And I'm from Peoria originally, and he had lived in Peoria. And so, whatever, that was kind of cool. I haven't seen that number. So another one, Lillian, this one is kind of for you, I guess. Friday, I have this camper. It's an older camper. It's like 19 feet. And so there's this camper world near here. And it was real hot. And I thought, I'm thinking of either buying another camper or remodeling mine. And so I went and they have a bunch of campers indoors. So I was walking, around and went in this camper, and this guy was in there, and his wife was there. And he said, he got to talking, and I said, "Oh, you're looking?" He said, "Oh, no, I'm not looking for a camper." He says, "We've got a camper. We just came down here for parts. They're from Bloomington." But anyway, he said, what he does, he and his wife do, they have this camper, and then they have this 40-foot trailer where they go horseback riding. And so they take their horses. And so that's what they do on their weekends, is they go to different camp places where they can ride horses. And I thought of you because you mentioned that you absolutely love the horses. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought I'd share that one. So anyway, other than that, tonight, today's my daughter's 30th birthday. So I'm gonna celebrate that with her tomorrow night. And I have a men's group, and we've been meeting at my house this every 2 weeks, and they just left a little bit ago. And so anyway, when Terry commented how you dress up, you're always dressed up very nicely, and and I thought, well, today was another day I was just on the go, and time to get home, and then have people here, and so I made it. So here I am, and life keeps going on, and I did all the I love yous on my mirrors, and so I told those guys when I used the bathroom, go check them out. So, and I also explained how I thought that was silly at first, and I thought you got to love what you're looking at. So anyway, I shared that too. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and it's funny how when you do write on your mirror, it does kind of feel funny at first, kind of foreign. But then as you come every day and you see it, it puts a smile on your face, because it's kind of like, at first it feels silly. And then it goes for me, it went from being kind of silly to, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm like, I do love you. And it's like, look at you, and it's like, you're beautiful and I love you. And so it's like this game, because we normally don't look ourselves unless we look in the mirror. And even when we look in our mirror, we're not looking at ourselves usually with those eyes. At least myself, it's like, okay, what do I got to fix? What's wrong? Hair out of place, eyebrows, it's like, gosh, I'm pale. I got to, pink up my face. But it's like, you're not thinking that. You're purely in a place of, I love you. You're like, yeah, I love you. And so it's almost like you're talking to your twin, if you know what I mean, but it's you.
So most of the time it makes me laugh. I see that, and my first initial is it makes me laugh. Me too. I think that is funny. Yeah. It's the whole concept. To give myself permission to write on the mirror, I love you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and think about the benefit of having at least one laugh a day. Just because, like, you see that on the mirror, you're like, oh, that's right. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. I like to have a lot more than one.
Yeah. So every time I see it, it makes me laugh. And there's just something that brings me joy, but it makes me laugh. There's a funny aspect. So it's like, those are really good endorphins that are bathing our brain every time we laugh. So it's a good thing. Very fun.
Oh yeah, it's a great thing. Great idea. So was that your idea, Lillian, or some of these ideas?
No, it wasn't. That writing on the mirror, I learned, Oprah did an episode like 20 years ago. It was a very long time ago. It was like in the 90s. And I remember thinking, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. And then I decided, it's like, it was kind of a big deal, because a lot of the women, they're like, oh no, it's like they can't do it or won't do it. And then her challenge was to kick it up a notch, not just tell yourself I love you, but in front of the mirror, stand naked and look at your body, appreciate it. Doesn't matter what size, what it is, to love yourself as you are in your entirety, whether you want to gain weight, you want to lose weight, whatever. It's like, just be in appreciation of the fact that you have 10 fingers, 10 toes. And not everybody has 10 fingers or 10 toes. Maybe you have one arm with 5 fingers and maybe the other one's missing. you know, it's like, wow, there are people who have no hands. At least you have one. So just the point was to be grateful for what you have, as you are, and that you're not required to obtain whatever you think it would be perfection for yourself. No, in this moment right now, no matter what, you're perfect, and you need to love all of yourself as you are. And then they went on to interview a lot of women who they could not do the whole, like the whole body image thing was so hard that it took, in some cases, it took months for women to get to the point where they could, you know, see themselves not wearing makeup, not wearing clothes. I mean, it was really a big deal. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have done this at this point. Many people have never heard of this exercise before, which is just simply, I love you, and look at yourself. You know, if I'm looking straight right here, you know how the images are reversed. So like if I'm looking at the mirror, with my right eye, I'm looking at my actual left eye, because this is the personal side, and this is your public side. So you want to appeal to the personal side of your brain. That's why you look into the mirror looking at that eye.
Well, I think a lot of people haven't, and a lot of religion really doesn't encourage that. That would be sinning or self-centered type of thing. So,
and yet we're told that God is in us. You know, it is that you are one with God. God is one with you. You are made in God's image. So when you don't like what you see in the mirror, you're really telling God, which I think is really, you know, and a lot of people do interpret that way. It's like, if you don't like what you see in the mirror, you're saying, God, you're a crappy artist. You're a crappy creator because you didn't do a very good job with me, and you're criticizing God's workmanship. And it's like, how dare you criticize the creator's workmanship? He made you in his image. You are just like the creator. So, and when you start to appreciate that, then everything starts to grow and expand. You know, the only reason why you don't appreciate the creator's workmanship is because you have issues deep down inside you that you're not aware of. There's seeds of unworthiness. There's seeds of not enoughness. And if you don't think that you're worthy or not enough, then you're going to think that I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. There's not enough to go around. You're in a lack because you're not aware of the abundance from which you came, which is
and there's also guilt and shame that goes along with that as well.
Yeah, there's guilt and shame. I mean, like I said, the reasons, male, female, whether it's not enough weight, too much weight, you know, they're both equally, you know, damaging to who you truly are. So that's why I think it's so powerful and so effective to do the simple little mirror work, because you brush your teeth every day, you know, in the morning and before you go to sleep. So at least twice a day, you are acknowledging the who of who you are. And then you're laughing because you're seeing, I love you. And you're like, yes, I love you. And looking at yourself, like really looking at yourself with a positive, uplifted emotion rather than, you know, oh, I got to get my eyebrows done again, or my hair's not cut right, or they can never get the color right, whatever criticism. It's like, no, it's from love and joy. So I'm glad.
You have to give yourself permission to do that, to accept yourself.
And if you can't accept yourself, how can another human being accept yourself? Mm-hmm. You know, part of the beauty of this work that we're doing here is that we're also in training to each other, because we legitimately accept and love everyone who is on here, whether they're on here right now live with us on Zoom or whether they're watching it later. As you guys know, when you go to a Dr. Joe event, it is palpable. We are in training to each other's unconditional love, and everybody is just at that high vibrational frequency. And as each day goes by, you're in a higher vibrational frequency.
Have you been? I have not been to an event. I bought his class last summer, and it was online.
Yeah.
Have you been, Terry?
Yes.
Maria, have you been to an event?
Yeah, I've been to several. Yeah, and I'm getting ready to go. I went in April again, and then I'm getting ready to go to Denver in July, and then the advanced follow-up in September. But part of the participation in this group, the same thing is happening. our group as a collective and each one of us individually, our vibration is much higher today than it was 6 weeks ago when we started on May 7th. And you can see it and you can feel it, you know, every time we get together, you know, and it feels good to have all these signs, symbols, synchronicity, these fun outcomes that weren't obviously in our existence before. It's obvious that we've created these things. And so as you continue doing that, you're having fun molding the clay, moving the energy from whatever particles that are temporarily in whatever status, we're moving them back into waveforms of energy with our consciousness and reorganizing them so that, boom, Terry's getting all these requests from men in person as well as, you know, online. Boom, David, you have not one, not two, but 3 ladies who are now in your experience. Actually, now more, I've lost count, but that first week that you had your home run with 3 different ladies, it was like, oh my goodness. And, you know, all of us are experiencing, because we've changed the waveforms, you know, as we've meditated, as we've done these conscious experiments, things are happening. Monica S., you had like 15 things. We had that posted, on not just the YouTube channel, but also in the group. You saw, I was like, holy smokes, she has a laundry list and a half of stuff. It was very cool to read all of her manifestations in just a week's time. And there was another gal, Sanya, I believe, and she's from India. She has now 2 suitors, 2 guys, both very serious guys who are actually interested in marrying her. I'm trying to think of the different people, but anyhow, there's a lot of things that are, you know, bubbling up as this experiment unfolds. So yeah, it's, you know, that's the whole purpose of this is, you know, being part of the accountability of being on these, you know, weekly calls and weekly sessions, is that it keeps you, you know, you're able to track things because you're measuring things, you know, Monday to Monday, and it keeps your eye on, you know, the bullseye of like your target, which is ultimately to bring in a heart mate. But you bring in a whole lot of other manifestations of love, you know, from doing these things. And so it's an ongoing thing. Does that make sense?
Does I wanted to show you my rose. I grow them, so I pick them and I put them on this is my dining room table. So anyway, so when Terry mentioned that she gives those away, it's great. I love to give them away when the opportunity arises.
Yeah. So that is absolutely wonderful. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you shared that flower, because we heard about it with Terry, but to see the pretty rose.
And I would give one to each of you if I could. I'll send it through the through the internet here.
Well, thank you. We received that intention. Thank you.
Good.
So is there anything else, David, that you want to share with us? Did you have any kind of a dream or any kind of synchronistic? I mean, that's pretty cool, the numbers of that guy from Peoria and yourself, how your address and his numbers, you know, matched perfectly. That's pretty cool.
I thought that was very strange because that doesn't, yeah. You know, I didn't write any dreams. I've had some dreams, but they escaped me at the moment and I didn't write them down. But no, I do have some dreams. I'm a pretty good dreamer.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that we get from dreams. And as we start to recognize, if you pay attention when you're dreaming, especially once you come to awareness and you're awake, what was the overall feeling that you had in the dream? One thing is to pay attention to the signs and the symbols, but how you felt in response to whatever you either witnessed or whatever interaction you had. Because if you felt joy and happiness, if you felt kind of neutral, did you feel frustrated, angry, afraid? That's telling you, that's actually speaking more loudly than what's actually going on in the dream. So that's something to pay attention to. Sometimes you'll find you know what, I was just kind of the observer of the whole thing, and nothing really bothered me. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just kind of like an onlooker. Like, I'll share with you guys an interesting dream that I had, that usually when I first have, I'm usually pretty good with dream interpretation of my own and others. But this particular dream, when I first had it, I thought, what are all these pickup trucks? They were pickup trucks, but they didn't look like, in the dream, I knew they were pickup trucks, and I could only see from above. I could see the cab portion and then the front of the pickup truck. But what was interesting was that all the front part of the pickup trucks, they were all like fitting together like a puzzle. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting, because I didn't expect them to like click together like a puzzle, side to side. And it wasn't like they were perfectly aligned. It was it was more round, but it didn't matter from what angle they came in. They all fit like Legos, like pieces of a puzzle. The front parts somehow miraculously all fit together. They were all different colors, kind of all different sizes. The size variation wasn't as much, but I was just, I just remember thinking, once they came together, they all fit together like a puzzle. And I thought, well, that was kind of interesting. And then when I woke up, I thought, I wonder what, it felt pleasant. It felt light. It felt very bright. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. I know it'll pop into my head, and just like always, it'll be revealed to me what it is, what that means. And what I found out was that it's actually all of us doing this 90-day HeartMate consciousness experiment. We're all coming from different places. We're all kind of different sizes, and it doesn't matter. We're all fitting perfectly together to do this experience together. Maria, David, you're done? Or is there anything else that you want?
No, I am done, Lillian. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for reporting back. Maria, welcome to our group here. And whereabouts are you from, Maria?
Well, actually, I'm ready to sleep because it's late where I live. We're not in the same time zone. But I just got an email yesterday with an invitation. I didn't know what is this all about. And I accept the invitation and I just here, but I don't know exactly what is this all about. But by the way, yesterday, I just came out from an event with Joe Dispenza that was finished yesterday. So I was in the event for a week. And then I saw that in the mail and I said, well, I'm going to answer that.
Well,
But I'd like to know a little bit more about what is this group about, or when it starts. I don't know when this starts or.
so we started on May 7th. So what I would do is I will direct you to the May 7th recording, and you can watch the May 7th moving forward. You'll watch the May 7th and then Monday, May 10th. And then every Monday night, instead of joining in here, you'll watch those recorded sessions, because you'll basically end 6 weeks after us, because we started all on the 7th. But it's interesting because I have not sent a single email out about this. Everything has been done basically through like 1, maybe 2 Dr. Joe groups that are online, and then through text messages directly. So the universe must have wanted you to be aware of this. You're probably supposed to come together with that HeartMate. And I've had a few people who've asked me, it's like, well, why is it called HeartMate? Why aren't you calling it soulmates, or why aren't you calling it twin flames or twin souls or blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? When I first received the inspiration to do this, I heard and I saw HeartMate, and I thought, to me that made sense, because the paradigms, whatever people think about a soulmate or a twin flame or a twin soul, they don't have any of those connotations. It's something more pure. It has to do with somebody that you're connecting from one heart to another. It's a pure love type of situation. So that's why it's called the HeartMate consciousness experiment. So what country are you in, Maria?
I'm in Mexico. I'm in the south of Mexico. I'm in Playa del Carmen.
By Playa del Carmen, so by Cancun?
Yes, near Cancun. So anyway, but that's funny because I just got the invitation and said, please answer if you want to accept the invitation. I said, okay, I accept the invitation, but I didn't have any idea what was going on. I just thought it was, I don't know why I connect this with Inner Math Institute, and I thought that came from there because sometimes I take some of the master classes there, and I said, well, maybe it's from there, someone from there. I didn't have any idea. So, but it's good to be here. So I enjoyed a lot hearing the testimonies and what they have to say. It's very inspiring.
Okay.
And I don't know, I have in my mirror, because I studied hypnosis with Marisa Peer, so I always have in all my mirrors, I am enough here and there. So I'm used to see that in the mirror all the time. So, but it's just, just synchronicity, how things connect, you know?
Yeah, and I have a connection with Roland McCready too. That kind of goes back 10, 15 years, something like that, having to do work with the Heart Math Institute. So, okay, well, welcome to the group. And
You're welcome.
yeah,
Did I hear you say, Maria, you just finished the 7-day with Dr. Dispenza?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. She's fresh off the boat.
Yes. So you're
awesome.
It was my 5th retreat.
Your 5th? Oh, cool.
Wow.
He does about 5 events near my house, about 15 minutes from my house. So I take advantage of this because instead I have been in the United States also in a retreat, but it's better if they are near, just in the neighborhood. See?
Of course. That's awesome.
More easy.
Awesome.
Wow.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you,
That
Terry.
is fantastic. Let me see if I
I
can.
like the story about the wedding and everything that's happening in your garden. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah, it's very fun, very fun. I'm going to share with you guys. Thank you, Maria, for sharing. And yeah, make sure after we're done, you private message me through the Facebook.
Yes.
And then I'll send you that information so that you can get those recordings. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm going to share with you guys. Because like I said, last week I ended up deleting them, but just in the last few days, I wanted to share with you guys so you can kind of see how all the number synchronicities, I tried to take pictures of every time, not every time, but oftentimes. Actually, what's this one? Oh, 555 at the bottom again. And then 222. So that's just like the last 24 to 48. I thought, let me take, because normally, you'll see it everywhere from like license plates to your microwave or the oven. It's like whatever thing that has a number. It's just invoice numbers. Like I had an Amazon invoice number that was 11. It was 11011. My post box, my PO box, which I did not pick the number when I originally got this PO box. My radio show was at 11:11 p.m. It originally started off it was originally 11:11 a.m. in the morning. And then I moved it to 11:11 p.m. Long story short, when I go to the post office to get a post office box, the gal says, okay, she wrote it down on a piece of paper. She goes, this is your PO box number. It's 11011. I said, no way. She goes, nope, that's the number. And I'm like, that 1111 is following me everywhere. Oh, okay. So we're going to move on. I wanted to also check with you guys. Did you guys have, because as you know, we did the ball of light to manifest money, which was part of the objective is to take your consciousness. We are, our focus is to attract love, to attract a heart mate. But part of manifestation is also allowing your attention to come off of the heart mate just long enough to allow not just that to pop in, but allow something else to come in that is a pleasant surprise. So that's why we switched and we did the ball of light to manifest money. So I want to know if anybody had any kind of interesting, if you have an awareness of either money coming in or anything having to do with money over the last 7 days since last Monday that we did this particular exercise. Did anybody have anything? Well, I'm going to share with you what I had. Give me a second. I'm trying to think. Where did I put? You know what? I didn't pull it out, but I'm going to share with you. I do not own State Farm stock. I said I do not own State Farm stock. However, curiously enough, I got a check from State Farm towards the beginning of this week. I think it was like on Wednesday, just 2 days after we did this Moneyball manifestation. And State Farm sent me a check for a dividend of $182.39, something like that. It was basically almost $200. So I read it like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, what? I'm like, why am I getting a dividend check from State Farm? They basically said, we're having a better than expected year. And you have, auto, homeowners, have all these different insurances with them. And so, we are giving you a dividend check of $182. So I thought, that has to be because of this ball of light exercise that we did. So I thought, that was fun. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next. I'm going to show you guys, I have something to share. So I'm going to show you next. Yep, here we go.
You may have seen this demo where you put several metronomes on a light wobbly platform and start them out of sync.
Stay on.
It's trickier than people make it look. When you do get it to work, though, it's kind of magical. These metronomes don't have exactly the same natural frequency, and yet they still beat in time. To understand how this works, it's easiest to first consider a couple metronomes oscillating in sync with each other. When the large masses accelerate to the left, they push the platform to the right, and when they accelerate to the right, they push the platform to the left. So the center of mass of the system always stays roughly in the same spot. Now, if you start another metronome completely out of sync with the first two, the motion of the platform gives it a kick every half swing, speeding it up until it's in time with the first two. This works regardless of the number of metronomes you have. The platform just goes whichever way the majority of metronomes are pushing it. We can represent the position of a metronome pendulum or any other oscillator as a point on a circle. This shows its phase, that is, what part of the cycle it's in. So you could call the rightmost point of the pendulum 0 degrees, and then the leftmost point is 180 degrees. And as the pendulum oscillates back and forth, the point goes around the circle. The higher the frequency of the oscillator, the faster that point goes around. So this represents two metronomes with different frequencies, and this represents two metronomes with the same frequency, but completely out of phase. When the metronomes are synchronized in phase, their dots go around the circle together. We can use this depiction to illustrate a mathematical model for the synchronizing behavior we've been looking at. It's called the Kuramoto model. It says the rate each dot goes around the circle equals its natural frequency plus some amount related to how far it is from all the other dots. Now, the size of this term is determined by the coupling strength.
I like to think of it actually visually by thinking about people that are running around a track. Like suppose you're running with your friend, and maybe your friend is faster than you. Your friend says, come on, move it, hurry it up, because you're dawdling, you're slow, you're falling behind. So if you have enough fortitude and you try hard enough, and if the friend is sympathetic enough to slow down, then the coupling between you is strong enough to overcome that inherent difference in your natural running speeds. But if you're not very good friends, or if you can't quite suck it up to move yourself faster, then the coupling will not be strong enough to overcome that difference, and one person will start lapping the other.
As you guys may or may not be aware, one of the things that the reason why I wanted to share that with you is that's very much, what's happening here, because we are synchronizing with each other. That's why all of us are individually and collectively as a group experiencing more signs, symbols, synchronicities. We're having more connections with people where you're not just online, but also in person. We're having manifestations in a myriad of different ways. And just as this is a smaller group, when we do a Dr. Joe event, or when we're, at a Heart Math Institute class, whether it's online or whether it's in person, doesn't matter. The numbers are much larger. Dr. Joe events are 1,000 to 2,200 people at a time. And so you saw how they had just the 3 metronomes as opposed to, I can't remember what number he had, but he had many, many metronomes, which is kind of more representative of like a 7-day advance event that Dr. Joe has. So at large, it doesn't matter. It happens in the small, it could happen between 2 people, which is why, as a neurosomatic practitioner, one of the things that I know that I am able to do with my clients is I can, with intention, tap into the autonomic nervous system of my clients, whether it's in person or online, and I can up their frequencies so that a healing can occur. The same thing is true when we're in that group, when we're doing those coherence healings, as we're doing those meditations, as our vibration and frequency goes up, everybody is receiving benefit from that. And everybody begins to become entrained with each other, and our hearts start to be, in coherence along with our brains and with each other. So everybody's getting benefit from that experience. Does this make sense? Okay. So I wanted to go on to the next thing that we're going to do is I have a consciousness exercise that we're going to do next. So let me I have that queued up. I can close. And if you guys are interested in seeing the secret of synchronicity or synchronization in its entirety, that will be under the YouTube channel, under the 90-day heart-made consciousness experiment. You'll see it in that list. Okay, so everybody just make sure you're sitting down, you're relaxed. We're gonna start off with a pre-action plan to purify your consciousness. And then we're gonna go into that's gonna be, let's see how minutes long. That is basically 2 minutes and 6 seconds long. And then we'll go into the action plan to attract your heart mate, which is a neurosomatic process, okay? Pre-action plan for becoming space-minded to purify your consciousness of intellectual clutter. Begin this with sitting in an upright, comfortable chair. Step 1, relax in a chair and breathe slowly and deeply. 2, imagine all impurities leaving your body and consciousness with every exhalation. 3, think of the space above where you are. 4, go into that space instantly. Imagine you can look back down at yourself sitting in the chair. 5, continue this trip into space past the coast, above the planet, past the solar system, out of the galaxy. 6, feel love for this galaxy and all of the billions of galaxies out there. Return slowly the way you came, knowing you are in closer touch with space and you are one with the one. You are the one. You are space and space is you. You are aware of your consciousness. You notice, you recognize that you are aware as you ask, am I aware? Yes, you are aware. Action plan to attract your heartmate. Step 1, Sit in a comfortable upright chair. Now close your eyes. Relax from the top of your head down to your tippy toes. As you relax, you command your ego to go in time out. And with your left hand, you point to your ego. Make believe that your ego is to your left, and you say, ego, time out, and you hit a pause button in your mind's eye, just like the easy button from Staples. To the left of your ego is your brain. Your brain, you command it, saying, brain, I am the master, you are the servant. Do as I say. Now you turn your attention to the right-hand side of your brain, which is where your conscious awareness is. That is the seat of your consciousness. And as you, in a joyous and loving state, begin to feel yourself going into the black velvet void, you see in your mind's eye your special room. And in your special room, you reach out with your dominant hand and you are opening that door into your special room. And as you walk into that special room in your mind's eye, you sit under the skylight. And as you sit under the skylight, you project your conscious awareness into the skylight, into outer space, into the black velvet void. You talk out loud to space in a reasonable way, saying, now I am expanding out into the universe. I am reaching the sun, the moon. I am going to expand my conscious awareness beyond all this planetary system. I am reaching out to the galaxies, the Hershey Way, the Milky Way, all the ways, all the names of the galaxies that exist out in space until your consciousness reaches that center of the all, the center of the black velvet void. Now here, you say out loud, I am one with the one, I am the one. I call in all healing, loving, joyous, blissful, enthusiastic energies across all time, dimension, space, and reality. I am one with the one, I am the one. And as you do this, you motion with your left hand first in a fist, then your right hand, and you go, yes, 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 alternating, left, right, left. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, with your eyes still closed, feeling the joyousness flowing through your veins, the vibrational frequencies going through your flesh and blood and your bones. And now, as you are saying, yes, 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 I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, as you speak, you continue to visualize the points that, yes, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. And now you are going to make a promise to give a sacrifice as a sign of your sincerity and your respect. And now, as you turn to the left, you notice there's a switch on the left-hand side. And before you touch the switch, you notice the top says future, the bottom says now. Now, you speak out loud and you hold your hands with arms welcoming in your heartmate in the 5D reality. You accept them coming into your space and you embrace them and you say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful and appreciative of your being here in my now. And you hold them in gratitude and appreciation with joy. And as you let them go, you now turn your left hand over to the switch, and from the future position, you take the switch and put it down to the now position. And you feel a surge of energy go through your body, starting from the base of your feet, all the way through the base of your spine, up your spinal column, zoom, all the way to the top, through your head to your 8th energy center, 18 inches above your head, and the energy continues back to the source of original light. Now, as we count back from 1 to 3, at the count of 3, you will be wide awake and you will be back. 1, you are one with the one, and you are wonderful, and you are worthy, and you love yourself, and you love others, and you know that this is your divine birthright. 2, because things are twice as good day by day in every way. And 3, things are 3 times faster, 3 times more exquisite. For every problem, you have 3 solutions, 3 potential outcomes that are favorable and wonderful in every way. And now you are awake. So, how did you guys feel through that process?
I liked it. I like going to, and I've heard that before. I've done that before, and I like it. Going out of space, going out of my body, and looking at the whole world, and then coming back slowly. I think it's very nice, and I really like the switch idea of the now or the future.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, because so often I find myself going to the future, and it's always the future. It's never now. So now I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's you're consciously making the future now, so that it's not always in the future. Otherwise, you're always chasing the future. And so now it's bringing it into the now. So you're, more accepting and embracing of it. So yeah, I like that too. So that was neat that you felt that way. All right, David, that's wonderful. Anybody else? Terry?
And yeah, it felt very embodied to give my heartmate a hug. That was kind of like a surprise, like, oh, yeah, I get to touch you now, and then I'm going back to the now again.
Mm-hmm.
But you're out there.
Yeah, I think that's the most stunning thing, is the first time you actually feel like in one of these processes, you actually feel, like them embodied, and you feel like their shoulders, their arms, their torso, and you're like, oh, it's like, whoa, this is pretty real feeling. And so I think it's an indication of that person coming closer into your experience. And I think the likelihood is that they're probably doing some similar processes, because we're, in that same, very proximate vibrational frequency. So very cool, very cool. Maria, did you want to say anything about the process? Oh, she looks like she's off camera. Okay.
Yes, I really got into that. I feel it. I feel that the emotion.
Good, good, good. Great, great. Awesome. So let's see. I was hoping to have done before today, but I'll have it posted after I put up the recording for today's session. There's Stories of Alchemy of Byron and Nicole. They're Dr. Joe students, advanced students as well. He's an osteopath and she's a theta healer. And they have an amazing story with more signs, symbols, synchronicities up the wazoo. And I was able to interview them a little over a week ago. And so I will post that in our group so that you guys can watch that. but I want you to watch that and then take notes on it. What were the things that you thought of as you watched it and what you felt? It's uncanny when you see the intention that he came with to the 7-day event, and the intention with which she was leading, both in the unknown, and how things unfolded from then, before they arrived to the 7-day event, during, and since then to now. I think it's a beautiful manifestation of them manifesting each other's heartmate.
Could you tell me the name again so I'll know what to look for when you post it?
Yeah, Stories of Alchemy,
Byron and Nicole.
Byron and Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay. And then this is just a footnote, piggybacking on what we've learned and what we've been practicing and what we've been experimenting with. Just notice and be aware, recognize and realize that love and money must flow into you and out, because you are a channel. As we continue doing these consciousness experiments, we're obviously more aware than we normally would if this wasn't on our radar, top of the mind awareness, because this is something that we're thinking about all the time, just by sheer fact that we're participating in this. And so as we're continuing to do these consciousness exercises, then the energy can flow in us and through us. So as long as we continue to, anytime you have a negative emotion, a negative thought, a memory of something that's really unpleasant, that PSMO method, you can do that. And that just takes, like I said, 3 minutes. You do, the physiological size, the maniocular technique, and then the lymphatic flush, the third piece, and it'll immediately, you can get bad news of, not too long ago, I just recently had someone pass away in my family. Not the most pleasant of things to hear. Bad things are going to happen, that we're going to become aware of, and things that are definitely unwanted. The thing is, how long do we want to dwell in that feeling that doesn't feel good in our body? It doesn't feel good in our head. It doesn't feel good in any aspect of us. So the quickest way to resolve and dissolve that is through the PSMO method. And so it's a quick and easy, it's not very complicated, and it's very, very effective. And you can do it multiple times a day. So Stories of Alchemy, love and money must flow into you and out, because you're a channel. We already discussed the PSMO method, and the last part.
Can I say something?
Sure.
In regards to like what you call bad feelings, that's an interpretation of whether they're bad. They may not feel real good inside, but like when things happen in life, it's a matter of how you process it.
Exactly.
To me, it's like to be with it. I've learned to actually be with those things and stay with them rather than try to push them away like I did when I was younger. And
yeah, what you resist persists.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of growing, and you mentioned dissolve it with that process, and I suppose that's works as well.
Yeah, and that's,
right?
that's part of what you're doing, because your mind, your brain is aware that negative thing still exists, but you don't have the emotional charge. So now you can kind of look at it more objectively, and you can realize it's like, okay, it doesn't have.
And when you refer to negative, it's like there's positive, negative. It's negative because it's not uplifting to you. It's something like when someone dies and they're close to you, you're close to them. It's I guess a part of that's negative. It's certainly sad. And is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's when somebody passes away, it doesn't matter if it's somebody young, if it's someone old. In this case, it was my mother's older brother who passed away. And so it's like, we would have rather that, he lasted another, 3 to 5 years. He's pushing 90 years old. So it's within the genetics of the family to say that, yeah, he could have lived to his mid 90s, even upper 90s. But in his case, that wasn't apparently part of his life plan because he left us. And even saying he left us, you know, it's his time to go. So we could think of it, we can think of it, or maybe our languaging is that it's a negative, you know, occurrence, because we tend to want to keep people in the physical, you know, because we're alive, we want to preserve life and we want people to continue living on. A lot of people really get to a certain point in their life where it's like, you know what, I've done and lived everything that I needed to live. I've lived a good life and I'm ready whenever, you know, whenever it's time to go. It's like, I'm willing to go. And so, and that's not for any of us other than the individual to choose when it's time for, you know, for them to move on. And so, you know, in my case, that's my mom's older brother. My mom also lost her, just in the last 12 months, she lost her older brother, just a few, you know, just recently. And then her younger sister died in the fall. She's 20 years older than her younger sister. Surely she never expected to lose her younger sister. That was obviously very jarring for her baby sister to be gone. And so suddenly, it doesn't feel good for me to think of, it's like, okay, on my mom's side, she's the only one left. All of her siblings are gone, both her younger brother, younger sister, and her older brother. So she's the oldest person in her family. So that is, you know, an interesting perspective. So how you choose to think about that and how you choose to maybe, you know, for myself, as I've dissolved and resolved whatever those emotions are. And I've always been appreciative of the time that I have with my mom and my father for that matter, just because you know that no one's guaranteed a tomorrow. And so however much time you need to spend with them, you do so that you really are able to not be in remorse when they're gone. Oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know? And so it's not having the negative emotion, not that you're not going to shed a tear, you can still shed a tear, but so that you maybe minimize maybe whatever more elevated emotions of maybe trauma and grief. And you're basically more empowered to, it's like, you know, my uncle lived a fantastic life. Oh my gosh, you know, he drank and he smoked until he was 87 and he still lasted 87 years. So he had a wonderful life, a wonderful career, you know, he outlived my aunts. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to define him by the day and way in which he passed. No, he had a fun, adventuresome, you know, international life. And it was, you know, 87 years long. It's time for him to go. So yeah, I mean, sitting with, I think part of, you know, everybody grieves, I think, in a different way. And some people tend to hold on to grief longer. And I've been exposed to a lot of death, not just because of, you know, having worked in an ambulance company and, you know, in a hospital and then to boot, my father did funerals because, you know, he's an ordained Presbyterian minister, chaplain for a police department, worked with a veterans hospital, et cetera, et cetera. And long story short, so I was always very aware of death. I noticed that people who hung on to the grief and the mourning of the physical loss of the person, that separated them from them being able to feel and perceive that person's soul right now. So the people who are able to not resist that and to say, okay, yeah, I miss them. It makes me sad, but you know what? They lived a good life. You know, I had good experiences with this person. The people that could remember the person fondly and basically honor that person's soul and spirit, which still exists. It's just not embodied in human form. Those are the people who were able to have either signs or they would feel the presence of the person after they're no longer with us in physical form. And some of them have had some beautiful experiences, but the ones who a year later, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years later, just can't get over that death. And they can't seem to enjoy life at all because that person's gone. Those are the ones who were really disconnected. It's kind of ironic. They were so disconnected from that loved one. And yet that loved one probably is trying to communicate to them and let them know all sorts of different things. And because they're holding on to the grief energy. And so it's a choice that we all make. You know, we may think it's unconscious, and I think for a period of time it could be unconscious, but once you're conscious of that, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to, you know. And I'm going to share with you an experience. This was not my intention to share this today, but it's coming up right now, so I'm thinking I'm probably supposed to share it with you. About 20 years ago, my husband's best friend and coworker and boss ended up being, you all remember 9/11, right? Everybody remembers where they were when we heard about the World Trade Center, you know, how the plane crashed into it. Then the next thing we know, the Pentagon got hit, all sorts of, and we lost some people that we knew during that, unfortunately. However, what was going on at the same time in my husband's, basically the company conference room, they basically called a lot of the executives in. They're all in the conference room. And so my husband was there, and so was his friend Jim. Well, out of the conference room, while they're witnessing all this chaos going on, you know, like at 7 o'clock in the morning, Jim gets pulled out of the conference room, and the receptionist is basically telling him, there's an emergency call. Your doctor's on the phone. You need to get on the phone right away. So he takes the call. We're all thinking, this is the end of our world. Look, it's like, how many people died when the World Trade Center got hit? Oh my gosh, the Pentagon's being hit. Oh my gosh, we don't know how much worse it's going to get. We just know that it looks like Armageddon, right? And we're kind of going, is this really happening? So he gets the news that he has acute myeloid leukemia and that they're sending an ambulance to pick him up. He needs to start treatment that same day. So his world was caving in on him. So fast forward, that was September 11th, fast forward to March of this following year, and he ends up passing away from acute myeloid leukemia. And he was only like 46 years old. He was very young. He had 2 kids. And my friend Laura ended up becoming a very young widow. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, Jim's not with us anymore. It's like Jim is gone. And, you know, Michelle and Matthew, they're still so little, and their dad is no longer here. And I can't imagine, you know, being a young mother with young kids. And I just thought the injustice of that all. And so I was in grief, and it was also my husband's, one of his best friends. So he was, you know, at a loss with, you know, and dealing with his own grief, you know, that his best friend is gone, somebody that he would golf 2, 3, 4 times a week. You know, he would golf with him as well as work with him, and et cetera, et cetera. So several months after this had passed, and I, of course, when you go to sleep every night, which is the quietest, that's when you think about these things the most. And it's like, he's gone. And I was concerned and worried about Laura and about the kids and so forth. And then my husband would lay in bed there, and I'm thinking, you know, what Laura wouldn't give to have Jim, you know, being, you know, right next to her in bed. And I remember thinking, it's like, sometimes my husband's, you know, instead of him putting them where they belong, you know, sometimes they would get in my way because he would leave them in the wrong spot. And I'm thinking, I'm sure Laura would love to have those shoes that are in her way, because that would mean that he's obviously alive and with her. So as I was, you know, processing through all of this, and we had 2 friends in their 40s who died that were a little bit older than us at the time. So he was, you know, he was one of the 2. So anyhow, fast forward, I want to say it was, and I don't remember if it was like 2 months or 3 months, but it was about 2 or 3 months down the line. All of a sudden, one night, I was woken up by this vision, and Jim basically came to me and he said, he's like, hey, Lil, he goes, you don't need to worry about anything. Laura's fine. The kids are fine. I'm having a great time. Everything is perfect the way it's supposed to be. You don't need to worry about anything. Everything is falling into place just the way it's supposed to. And you just need to know that everything is fine. And he had a big smile on his face. He always smiled. He had a big smile on his face, and he was kind of glowing. And he was like at the foot of my bed. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, okay, gotcha, done. And then he disappeared. And I was like, was that a dream? I knew I was awake, but I'm like, was that a dream or was it a vision? Or I really can't tell you what that was, but I decided I'm not going to figure it out. So let me go back to sleep. So I went back to sleep. And the next day I woke up and I'm thinking, I really had that experience. I'm like, I got to call my friend Laura and I need to tell her. Because, and then I didn't tell her that same day. I waited a few days, went to sleep the next day, slept really, really well. And then I think it was like 3 days later, I picked up the phone. I said, Laura, you know what? I feel really impelled to share this with you. This is what happened. And I explained to her what happened. And she felt fantastic about that experience. And it gave her a great deal of peace as well. And so there's something to be said, that was a very, very vivid experience that I had with someone who had passed, someone that we used to see all the time. Because like I said, I didn't see him every day like my husband did, but I saw him frequently enough. And, we had activities and dinners and, every Christmas we had a white elephant, Christmas party that was hosted at their home that we would always go to. So our families, that we knew each other well. I realized that, the soul, when it leaves the carnal form of the body, it does want to communicate to us, and it does want to bring us peace, bring us wisdom, sometimes a word of advice. Sometimes it's just something to bring joy to you. The farther away you are, or the more you have been able to let go of the grief aspect and just be more in a little bit higher, more neutral state, if not joyous state, the more you can allow those things to come in and to speak to you so that you actually don't miss them. That's part of, I think, I feel like that's part of the value of the PSMO method.
May I share something?
Sure.
I do think it's important to feel emotions, whether you label them negative or positive.
Yeah.
But I was in the cycle of when I was feeling the sadness or the grief, I got stuck in it. And that's no fun being stuck in it. I mean, for a long time. So then I finally realized to the extent of I was feeling sadness or grief, that was showing the amount of love I had for that person. If I had intense love for them, then I had intense sadness and grief. And yet I knew they wanted me to feel joy for them because they're on the other side. They're having a good time, whatever they're doing over there. So yes, these methods like the one you just shared with us, I think are very helpful because then it helps me get in a more neutral place and then even back into the joy so that I can reminisce about all the good times I had with a person and just sharing that joy of the experience. There's a saying that says, don't cry because it happens. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And while, yeah, some crying is important, I want to get to that point where I can smile and have joy and share the love as they move on and I move on too.
Yeah. In fact, a friend of mine, Serena Dyer Pisoni, who is Wayne Dyer's daughter, I think it was, I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. It was maybe like 4 or 5, 6 weeks. It was definitely no more than 2 months after he had passed. And of course, they all, all of his kids mourned the passing of Wayne. And about, like I said, within a couple months of him passing, he had mentioned some things to Serena and to her sisters that, when I'm gone, I'm gonna give you signs from the other side. I'm gonna bring feathers, I'm gonna bring butterflies, I'm gonna bring pennies, I'm gonna do certain things that you're gonna know without a shadow of a doubt. I'm gonna flicker the lights, I'm gonna do some very specific things. So when the first few things happened, she's like, Dad, is that you? And then as she acknowledged that she thought that it might be him, more of it started to happen. So then I don't remember if it was Sky or if it was, I don't remember. There was another one of her, all of his daughters' names start with S. So she mentioned it to one of her other sisters. And then both of them started noticing, oh my gosh, Dad did this today. Dad did there. Here's another sign that Dad's here. Here's another sign. And it started. And now, but after the first few, they were not any longer grieving. They miss him. Of course they miss him. Their dad's gone. They want to kiss him. They want to hug him. They want to hold him. They want to laugh with him. But they were, every time they would get another symbol or a manifestation that he was there, then they started to be able to feel and hear him speaking to them. And it just brought so much joy where they have been able to, in fact, I think she just recently mentioned that her and her sister decided to write a book about it. Because people don't recognize, you have people sometimes that they've been grieving for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years after someone has passed, and they're completely disconnected for that entire time because they're stuck in that energy of grief. They also think that to the degree, that if they grieve with that much passion, that is a reflection of how much love they had for the person, which is not necessarily true. But that's the belief, right? So you can't experience joy because that person's gone. And it's like, wait a minute, you can't, don't define the person by how and when they died and the fact that they died. Why not celebrate the joy of the energy of who that soul is? For some people who pass, their bodies are such a huge burden, are causing them so much pain, so much anguish. It's such a detriment to them that they really want to shake off and leave the physical body so that they can feel the relief of the non-physical. And so it's a blessing to finally, especially people who are dying from really horrible, whether it's a disease, a condition, a trauma. And so, death can be a relief, and oftentimes is a relief. And depending on the level of consciousness, we're not going to, this consciousness experiment doesn't involve, there's conscious and there's unconscious dying. There's people who die and they're petrified of dying. And if you're petrified from dying, well, it's going to be quite literally a rough go separating the soul from the body, because it might want to go in one aspect because of the pain, but another aspect is petrified of letting that go and being back, coming back into love which is what your original source of energy is, because they're afraid of the unknown of crossing to the other side. We're not going to get into that a whole lot here, but the whole point is that we all suffer negative emotions. We all have emotions, from anger to love to bliss and beyond. And feeling, like you said, Terry, feeling all of those emotions and not resisting them. It's as important to feel the sadness, feel the grief, allow yourself to cry. When you cry, that's a release. It's your human body's way, connected with your mind and your soul, to digest those emotions, which oftentimes we can't even language, but we can feel them. And as we feel them, Dr. John Gray likes to say, as you feel it, you can heal it, and you can reveal it oftentimes too. And again, your left brain may not have the exact verbiage to say, this is what I was feeling. I know that it was a digestion of emotion. And so whether you can articulate it or not really doesn't matter. Your entire being knows that it's like a reconciliation, if you will, allowing yourself to feel it, and then it goes away. Now you have the memory, but it doesn't have that emotional charge, which is at the root of Dr. Joe's work. A memory without an emotional charge. Now that turns into wisdom, and it's not something that has power over you because you're no longer resisting it. You're like, yeah, I have a memory of that. And it's like, I know it's there. I know it happened. It's not a big deal. You've already digested those emotions. You're in a healthy state. Now that's wisdom, because now moving forward, you know how to you're more prepared to handle whatever it is. Life is always going to throw things at you because that's part of the human experience. Okay. We all are familiar with the Go Love 20 meditation. So rather than do this online, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to do the Go Love 20 on my own. I would encourage you to do the Go Love 20 meditation as well. And unless you have any other questions, comments, concerns, footnotes.
Thanks, Lillian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
It's, I always enjoy this. I'm able to, I'm thinking, man, I'm tired. It's been a long day, but I tell you what, I appreciate that you bring the energy and share. and Terry, you too. I'm a little surprised that who's the other fella that comes often?
David Snyder. We have David Snyder and Sean Himes and
Randy. Isn't it Randy?
I think
Robert.
no, Robert Snyder.
Robert.
Yeah, Robert.
Robert. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And-
driving.
And that lady from Australia was coming.
She got tied up at work. She was hoping that she could make at least part of it, but she wasn't sure. And then as we got closer to the time, she's like, I'm still stuck. I'm not going to be able to make it, Haiti. So yeah, she's usually here every week too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Many
Yeah,
blessings.
thank you.
Thank you, my
Bye-bye,
Bye.
everyone.
friends.